another episode of Supportive Advice Live. I'm so glad you guys are here. I am looking to take some questions. I want to hear from you. What's going on in your life? How often do you get a chance to actually sit with a licensed marriage and family therapist for free, right? And talk to them about different things that are going on in your life. So I am here, right? And I am pulling on you, the audience, to ask questions, talk about patterns, things that you're just unsure about. Now, granted, you know, I'm a therapist, so I have a specialized understanding of therapy. So if you want to call and ask me about a Dodge Rambler, I don't know anything about that. Okay, so just want to be clear on that. Don't know about cars, do know about therapy. So you guys feel free to come on, and I am waiting for you all to come on and give your thoughts and opinions and all of that good stuff, that lovely stuff. If there's any couples that are looking to come on and maybe you've had an argument, or maybe you're thinking about moving in together, maybe you're single and you're wondering why you keep going after the same type of person. Maybe you want to know how your trauma shows up in your relationships. you know we all have something. That's all a part of being human, right? um so I am here, and again, I am pulling on you all today, right? So that you can utilize this time to speak with a licensed marriage and family therapist. So feel free to go in the comments. My moderator will be looking at the comments, and anyone who wants to go live will actually bring you on the air, right? So we'll bring you on the air with me, and we'll just talk. We'll just talk. And if you're like, I don't want anybody to see my face, I just want to ask a question, we'll just put it in the just put it in the comments, and I'll answer it that way too. It's fine. No worries. I like music. See. Oh, this is a good song. In Vogue. Yeah. Take it back. Oh. My moderator said that's copyrighted, so I can't play it. I can't play it loud, but I can still play it.
No, they will detect it. They will kick us off.
Can you? They can hear you. He's so bossy. Y'all hear that? He is bossy. So I have been talking. Well, I talk to people all the time. Like that's literally my jam, right? Um, but it's interesting because there is this happy wife, happy life um thought process, right? We see it on, and I'm still taking questions and things. But we see it, in society, right? We see it on sitcoms, like the wife wears the pants. I mean, she, the gender roles or whatnot. And like she's like the boss. But if you look at those guys, right? A lot of times they're not happy. They are not happy. They are browbeaten, and they typically don't enjoy going home. I think it's really important to understand that marriage is about compromise. It's not about one person getting their way all the time because they control the environment. Anyone that's been married knows the wife is not the only one that controls the environment. An unhappy husband doesn't feel great either. The house is not doing cartwheels when the husband isn't happy. But there's just been this thing of, you know women stay home. I mean, not anymore, right? But essentially, women would stay home, men would go to work. And so essentially, what it became is, let's pacify the wife, right? So we're going to pacify the wife. We're going to get her things that she wants. We're going to do things for her around the house to pacify her, right? And then that took on its own thing with this, happy life, happy wife. But it really just gives people permission to act like children, which is no good, right? It gives one of the partners permission to act like a child and the other partner a parent. What is that?
It's no problem.
That's not copyrighted?
No, it's actually part of the program.
Okay. Well, he found something that's not copyrighted. Well, it wasn't jamming like it. It's not jamming like in Vogue or anything, but um it'll do. You know what I'm saying? So um last week we talked about Risa Tisa. And I had got some comments like, these videos are irrelevant. She already said that she ignored the red flags. But my thing is not about the red flags. My thing is about self-worth. If we're ignoring red flags, there's a reason why we're doing it. And it's because, again, our standards started here, right? And the longer it took for us to find a suitable mate, we started dropping our standards, and until in that case, lying was not even, I mean, telling the truth wasn't even a standard at that point. So, you know, I think that self worth and understanding that you're worth waiting on and you're worth waiting for is always relevant. you know it's not about, oh, well, she, ignored this red flag or that red flag, or because if anybody actually listened to my show um last week, I actually named a lot of green flags of, reasons why she might have thought it was safe to trust that individual. um if there's 5 people, then they should ask questions. If you guys have any questions, comments, anything that you've always wanted to ask a therapist but didn't have the money to, I'm here. Utilize me. I'm taking questions. I'm taking comments, concerns. It could be um, parent-child related. It could be couple related. It could just be about a person. Um, patterns, attachment styles, all types of stuff. And anybody who missed it, if you want to be brought on air, my moderator will send you a link. You can click the link, go on air with me, ask a question. If you don't want to be on air because you're like, I don't really want anybody to know it's me asking this question, then you can just put it in the comments. Even though like they might know that, if because your name. So but some people have aliases on Facebook. Did you know Facebook does this thing now where like you can? I'm talking to my moderator because you guys aren't asking anything. Um, did you know Facebook does this thing now where you don't have to be you? Like, wasn't that always their thing? Like, you need to be you, and it needs to be your real name and your real information and all of this stuff. But then they were like, or you don't need to be you anymore. You can create a whole nother persona and go friend a whole bunch of people. But okay, Kelly, nice to see you. Blessings to you too. Um, but yeah, so it's like you don't even have to be you. It's like they're inviting you to catfish people. But here's the thing: if you do have an alternate, I did talk to Kelly. If you if you do have an alternate persona, they will tell people this person is operating in a persona that is not their original persona. Like it's like so it's like so you're gonna give me the ability to catfish, but then tell everybody that I'm catfishing. Like no. Who gonna friend that person? This person is not operating in their regular profile. They changed their name, they changed their picture. This ain't basically this not them. Um so normally I have my crew, Mojo and Mr. Machismo. However, as of today, um, it's just me. So there's that. Um, if nobody's asking questions, I mean, I could just shut this down early. I don't know if it's every day that people get a chance to talk to a licensed therapist um, for free, but if it's not of use to you. Kelly said she has to go. And blessings. Did you see that already?
No, I missed that.
Yeah. So Kelly's not on. And whoever else is on doesn't seem to have any questions. And I can't play any music. Is that you?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you on there? Are we not live anymore?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. So you're just playing with it for no reason then?
Yeah, let me see. Let me talk.
No. You talk enough. You have a whole Wednesday where people listen to you talk. You have a whole Sunday when people listen to you talk. You have a whole Tuesday where you call people in the evening and listen to you talk. You will not be talking on my podcast.
Let's see.
That means time is ticking, y'all. It's funny because when I was doing the Risa Tisa video, and there wasn't a lot of room for questions. People was all um, in the chat box. Yep, 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 yep. Now I'm asking people, hey, you got questions, you got comments, concerns, and nothing. But I guess it doesn't surprise me because there's so much stigma around mental health. Um, it's a shame in all honesty. There are so many people who need mental health help that don't get mental health help. You know, people that don't talk about the things that they're going through, people that self medicate instead of, taking the opportunity to talk to a specialist, you know, because at the end of the day, I mean, I personally don't take Medicaid. However, there's a lot of therapists that do. There's a lot of nonprofit organizations like um, Ohio Guidestone and I think Applewood is one too. And I'm sure there are a bunch more, but people, well, the wait lists are long, and that I can understand. Oh, Signature Health, I think that's one too. They have a sliding scale and all types of things. Um, but people don't utilize, mental health help. Why? Maybe they think it's too much of a hassle. I'm not sure. Maybe it's because of the stigma. I don't know. A lot of times it's because people think they're the only ones going through what they're going through, which is, and I'm not one to say never, but it never. It's never the case. There's never been a client that I talked to where I was like, man, something wrong with you. It's always things that people think they're battling alone, that so many other people are going through, but they don't. They're not able to find community because they don't talk. They don't say anything. I appreciate the individuals that have been brave enough to reach out to me and contact my practice, supportiveadvice.com. I just want to drop that name there. And schedule appointments with me because it's it's not an easy thing to do. To first say there's an issue. Second, this issue isn't something that I think that I can solve by myself. And third, I'm going to trust telling someone something that is significant and private to me, and then also trust them to guide me through the process. That is one of the strongest things that someone can do. It's easy not to ask for help. It's easy to pretend like nothing's going on. It's hard to say, okay, this has gotten out of control. I want to make a change, and I want to make a change so much so that I am going to actually get help. It's just like if you were carrying a whole bunch of groceries and the groceries was wearing your arms down, and someone was standing there with nothing in their hand and they said, hey, can I help you? You need some help? No, I got it. No, you don't. Your arms are significantly weighed down. You know, Michael, at this point, I'm not going to keep waiting. So I'm gonna jump off because there's nobody asking questions, and I'm pretty sure there's something else that I could be doing, at this point. But um, I am curious as to why no one came on, why no one is commenting. I wonder if did we not share it enough? Um, was it the time? Did the time not, mesh with when people typically are getting on Facebook? Was it hard to find? Or we not streaming on enough channels? Drop me a line, let me know. Because if there are barriers to people coming on or finding us or any of that, we want to make sure that we fix those, because we want to hear from you. We want to hear from you, and we want to address things that you're going through. That's the whole reason why I'm here. I mean, I could sit and talk about funny stuff and things like that, but I'd rather know that I've helped someone, at least one person at the end of each show. So if that's not what's happening today, that's fine. But definitely drop me a comment and drop me a comment and let me know what was the barrier to asking questions. And if it's personal, inbox me. What was the barrier? Hey Anna Marie, how are you?
She said just so.
Hmm?
She said just so.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm taking questions. So if you have any questions for a licensed therapist, feel free to write them in the chat, or we can also bring you on. You just called me. I was about to jump off because it was taking some time. Um, I think patience is something that I, as a human being, probably need to work on too. But yeah, if you have any questions, I taking questions about mental health, questions about relationships, attachment patterns, the whole nine. So Anne Marie, or Anna Marie, I'm sorry. How has your day been going? You know, how are things? Nothing right now. Okay, that's okay. Maria Strom is on. Thank you, Maria. Thank you for joining. Do you have any questions? Any questions, comments, concerns? Ask a live therapist, people. For free, you know. So I'm here. Any questions? Oh, things are going good. I'm glad. Anything new happening in your life? Either Maria or Anna Marie. Any changes that's been going on that you've noticed you've been trying to adjust to? I know this weather has been interesting. That was my son, guys. Um, what do you all think about therapy as a whole? Anne Marie. Oh, Anna Marie says dealing with health issues with my mom who lives with her. Oh wow. That can be hard. Um, you know, we think about different life stages, but we typically think that the one where we actually take care of our parents is further off than it really is. How are you coping with that, Anna Marie? How you been with that? And Maria, if you have questions, please feel free. Also, Anna Marie, I'm curious if these health issues are new or chronic. Some days are challenging. Yeah, of course. Of course. Anna Marie, they would be. Um, what are some things that you notice you're feeling that you didn't anticipate? Oh wow, stroke and heart issues. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry to hear that. I really am. Um, and so it seems like she might need some pretty close care. Um, I'm really curious about how that's been affecting you emotionally, seeing your mom in that condition. Maria, we didn't forget about you. Feel free to ask questions. You know, I'm not going to say that comment out loud, but I want you to know that you're not alone in that. You're not alone in that. You know, you spend a certain amount of time as a child, and then you finally are able to go off on your own. You build your family of origin, um, and well, your family system, right? You live your life. You have things the way that you're accustomed, right? And then all of a sudden something happens with our parent, and then there's this conflict of, I love my parent, I want to be there for my parent, but it's a heavy weight. It's a heavy weight. You have every right to feel how you feel. And I want you to know you're not alone in feeling that way. That is common with adult children that are taking care of their parents. I've always been close to her, Anna Marie says. And that can make things even harder, right? Because it makes the conflict even more so, right? There is this, well, she was there for me, or, she did these things for me, or, she sacrificed for me. I love her. I want to be around her. There is also the conflict of, I don't want to see my mom in this condition, because it conflicts with how I'm used to seeing her, you know. And there's also, again, weight, because you both still have a life to live, and now you're trying to find a way to live it together with swapped roles. That's no easy task, Anna Marie. I'm so glad you came on here to talk to me about this. Those are some tough emotions to be dealing with. Hey, Kristen, I see that you've joined. Thank you so much for joining. If you have any questions, we are taking live questions. I am a licensed therapist in the state of Ohio. My name is Aquila Wheatley. So any questions that you have, I have a sister older that doesn't. Yeah. Pamela, thank you so much for joining again. I'm taking questions, comments, concerns. I am a licensed therapist. Anyone who has any questions, definitely feel free to come on and ask. Right now, I'm talking to Anna Marie. Um, but Kristen, Pamela, feel free to ask. Marie, I didn't forget about you either. Um, That's also not uncommon, having like a sibling that is not as helpful, you know. And there's so many reasons why. Sometimes it's because they live far away. Sometimes it's because they have a hard time actually dealing with seeing their parent in an incapacitated state. Um, so there's a lot of different. Sometimes they weren't close to the parent, you know. Sometimes they just don't want the responsibility, and so it ends up falling on the sibling that is closest with the parent, because the parent typically leans toward that sibling. But yeah, that's it's frustrating. It's absolutely frustrating. um I have definitely helped clients work through just what you're talking about, because then there's that resentment, but then you feel guilty for feeling resentful. It's, you know, it's a hodgepodge of emotions, but they're all valid. And I want you to know that, Anna Marie. Pamela, Kristen, if you have any questions, definitely feel free to type in the chat. If you want to be brought on air, my moderator can bring you on air. He will give you a link that you can click on to become a part of the video podcast. Anna Marie, I'm curious as to um, who you talk to. I mean, right now you're talking to me, and I thank you for that, because this, you know, it's a sensitive subject, and I appreciate you, you know, coming on and sharing it with me. But outside of today, who do you talk to about these things? I really hope that you have some strong social supports to get you through this. And Anna Marie, don't forget, if you want to come on. Oh, okay. My sister in Christ. Okay. So it sounds like you have an older sister, or like a god sister or something like that, and they're not necessarily helping. Or you're saying, because there's like a long delay between what I say and what you type, is that you talk to your sister in Christ about these things. And if that is the case, I'm glad to hear that, because going through this is not something you should go through alone. There's a lot of emotions that you can feel. Sometimes people feel shame. Sometimes people feel guilt. Sometimes people start grieving their parent, you know, before their parent is actually gone. You know, I talk someone through walking their parent through dementia, you know, and at some point their parent was not themselves anymore. And so at some point it can feel like you're caring for a stranger, you know, someone who doesn't recognize you. You know, now in this case, okay, so yes, you talk to your sister in Christ. In this case, your mother has stroke and heart issues. Is she able to talk and move around still, or is she immobile? Hey, Karen, I see you joined. Thank you so much for joining. I am taking questions, comments, concerns. I'm a licensed therapist. So if you have any questions that you would like to ask, utilize me. I'm here. You can either put it in the chat, or, you know, you can actually click the link and come on right beside me and we can just talk. Anna Marie, I'm curious, is your mother immobile, or is she still able to kind of get around and talk and things like that? Oh, okay. So she can talk, but she's confined to a chair. So she's not able to get around like she used to, which, in all honesty, can be frustrating for the parent, especially if the parent was somebody that was like really independent and like to do things for themselves. And so once they get to a point where they're immobilized, which you'll deal with is a lot of frustration from them. And it might feel like they're mad at you or they're frustrated at you, when really they're frustrated at their body because their body isn't doing what it used to do. And people put their whole identities around, they build their whole identities around independence. I'm a strong person, I'm independent, I don't ask for help, and all this, all of these different things that are boosted by societal pressures to have a certain level of autonomy, right? And so then when something happens and they're not able, such a scary place. It's a scary place for them. It becomes very frustrating for them. Sometimes they feel like a burden, and and then they end up lashing out at the people that are closest to them. Now, I don't know if that's the case with your mom, but if that is happening, I just want you to know that it's natural. It's natural because it's not hard to, it's not easy to go from being the person taking care of someone versus being the one being taken care of. Hey, Johanna, how you doing? Okay, so Johanna, you just came out of a traumatic situation with your wife. Hey, Deborah, I see you're on as well. Did you want to talk about it? That's what I'm here for. I'm a licensed therapist. Um, and so feel free to. Oh, okay. He said he's fine. Um, okay. Well, I appreciate you coming on here. And if you do have any questions or you do want to talk anything through, I'm here for it. Deborah, same with you. Oh, okay. I see. Um, so I appreciate you having a testimony. However, this is more of a question answer type of podcast with a licensed therapist. Um, you can definitely tune in to no, okay. Okay. So anyway, this is a question and answer. So we are just talking about different therapy techniques, different things that you can do when you are having, issues. If you're going through something, you want to talk to a therapist, you just want to give it a try. I don't mind being your guinea pig. This is my first time here, so glad to be here. I'm so glad to have you here too, Johanna. Um, how is your stress? It seems like you have a testimony, so I take it you're probably on the other side of things at this point. Deborah, if you feel a want to or pull to talk, I'm here. Just want you to know that. Um, and Kristen, Pamela, very true, very very true. Maria, if you're still watching, feel free. If you wanted to talk about the original scenario, you can type that in the chat, and then I can talk about that, because I'm pretty sure whatever you were going through, you're not the only one that ever went through it. And there might be some people on here even now that can benefit from hearing, what you went through and what you came over. If we have a crowd, come on screen. Come join me. Click the link. Join me. Ask me some questions. Chit chat with the therapist today. Why not? It's free.
I'm sending it now.
Okay, so the link is in there. How do you deal with, oh, wow. How do you deal with an autistic adult child with extreme OCD with germs? She is consistently spraying and sanitizing stuff. She also lives with me. Anna Marie, you have a lot going on. I hope that you are taking time for yourself and taking time for self care. Um, OCD is typically an anxiety response. And so, when it comes to autism, there's a lot of sensory things that can cause that person to get overwhelmed, and so OCD, there is a part of it that is a compulsion, which it sounds like the cleaning is a compulsion. But there's also a part of it where there might be anxiety around germs. Maybe they were told something about germs that freaked them out at some point, and they think that the only way to keep themselves safe is to keep cleaning. But definitely an anxiety response. Um, is harder because with individuals with autism, there's a lot of sensory things, but there's also a lot of emotional. I'll say there's also a lack. That's a better word. A lack of emotional regulation. So they can go from 0 to 10, all of a sudden. So, sitting them down and saying, hey, you know, this is already clean. That's not going to do anything, especially if it's a compulsion. Um, However, you know, all depending on how verbal the adult child is, you can have a conversation with them to find out where their anxiety is coming from. I've seen a lot of verbal um adults, and also teens, that I've counseled. And you can, depending on where they are on the spectrum, have conversations with them and get down to the root of what's causing the heightened anxiety. Because you probably will see heightened OCD behavior when the person is overstimulated. Finding out what might be overstimulating them. Um, Giving them different ways to be able to hyper focus in on things that, like music or something like that, that can be calming to them, you know giving them something that can take the place of the cleaning, helping them really understand germs, and that there are good germs that we need. Hey, Bridget, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate you. Feel free to come on and chat. Also, feel free to click the link and come on. I would definitely explain to them that there are good germs that we need. And the consistent spraying, they're not only moving away the bad germs, but they're moving around the good germs that we need, you know and see if that is helpful. But definitely sitting down, having a conversation with them, figuring out what is triggering the anxiety, what's triggering the overstimulation, when are they more likely to come out with their spray, like what's happening around that time, what's going on, is something too loud, is it all day every day, you know and and sometimes setting an amount with them. What is an amount that's comfortable for you? How many sprays do you need to spray? Is it 5? Is that once you spray 5, does that urge to keep doing it go away? Okay, so once you get to 5, I'm going to let you know you're at 5, and then we're done, right? And then having that type of conversation with them, that's also helpful. Putting a limit on it based off of their comfort. So there are a lot of different things, but definitely pay attention to when you see them doing it the most, because 9 times out of 10 is something that either has overstimulated them, caused them some type of anxiety, and that's how they're responding to it. Also, show them things about good germs. Teach them about good germs, because that also might be helpful. And then setting an amount with them. Okay, so you sprayed 5 times today. All right, well, five is the lucky number. Not 5 is enough, so we did it. We did it. Very good. All right, we got it. All the bad germs gone. Now we got to make sure we leave some room for the good germs, right? We don't want to spray away the good germs. No, we don't want to spray away the good germs, right? Talk to them, talk them through it. There's also a technique called urge surfing. Now, I don't know if it'll work as well, just all depending on where they are on the spectrum. But urge surfing is really, really, really great. Okay, because what it does is it it describes your emotion as a wave that is starting low, coming, hitting a peak, and at that peak you feel like it can't get any higher, right? You need to act on it. You need to do something about it. You have to do something about it. And then what you realize is when you sit with the emotion, it begins, or the urge, right? It begins to subside. Now it's not easy, and if you're willing, you can talk them through the process. You can say, okay, what are you feeling right now? What is it that's making, are you feeling it in your hands? Is it something in your mind telling you that it's not clean? What is it that we're feeling? Let me know as it rises, right? Talk them through it. Deep breaths, box breathing. Okay, as it's rising, it's getting worse, huh? It's getting bad, and you see them fidgeting or whatever the case may be. Okay, it's okay, right? It's going to get to a peak, but then it will come down. It will come down. Let's breathe through it. Let's breathe through it. And do that with them. Help them to regulate as well. That's also and you can go on Google, and you can actually, because I don't know if I'm able to share my screen here or not, but you can Google urge surfing techniques. There's a lot of them. There are ones that are audible. There's ones that actually have a script where you can actually walk them through the script. Um, Either way, you'll be able to. And there's also one that It's like a bell curve, but it's in the form of a wave, and you can kind of walk them through, tell them to point to where their emotion is at that point. And if they keep on pointing to the top one, let them know, okay, all right, let's do some breathing. Let's work through the exercise. Hey, Marlene. And then let them know, to let you know when it subsides, and then reward them, because positive reinforcement, I mean, that's always a thing. And whether you're an adult, a child, and an elder, positive reinforcement will continue on a behavior. I hope that answered your question. Anybody else have any questions? Marlene, Bridget, if you have any questions, any scenarios you want to run by me, that's absolutely fine. Again, I am a licensed, spelled LICENSED, therapist. And I'm taking calls, well, not necessarily calls, I'm taking comments, right? I'm taking comments, and I'm also open to someone clicking on the link and coming right on. You can talk directly to me. I can talk directly to you. Anna Marie, I really hope that I answered your question. If there's any follow-ups, let me know. Hey, Queenie, how you doing? Thank you so much for joining. Marlene, Bridget, thank you so much for joining as well. I'm taking questions, comments, concerns in the chat, as well as there is a link. My moderator will post it again. My moderator will post it again so that you all can see. You click on the link, you can actually come on with me. So I know some topics are kind of sensitive, so I understand if you don't want to. Okay, someone says, Marlene, my granddaughter moved out at 18, says she has nothing to say to her mom. Yeah, that is a hard one. That's a hard one. So what I'm going to explain is the differentiation process. So we all go through different, and Marlene, I'm directing this towards you. Mom was always good to her. I bet she was. I absolutely bet she was. And this might be out of nowhere where you're just like, I am still talking to her. Okay, so she's talking to you. At least she's talking to somebody. He's talking to you. He's not talking to mom. Mom has always been good to her. But is there a significant other somewhere in this mix? A lot of times there's a significant other somewhere in this mix. Nevertheless, Marlene, I'm going to talk about the differentiation process. Kids think their parents are the world because the parents are the world. Her mom has a boyfriend. Okay. So mom has a boyfriend. Is the child an only child? Because that's important. That's something to know. If she's an only child, at what point did the mom get the boyfriend? Like how old was she when the boyfriend came into the picture? Are there siblings that she helped out with? Was the mom a single mom at any point? Because all of those things are 8 years between. Okay. So I take it that the boyfriend came in when your granddaughter was 10 then, if she's 18 now and she just moved out. Or is it that she has siblings, but there's 8 years in between the siblings? The reason why it's in, yes, it's 8 years between the siblings. I take it this one is the oldest. The granddaughter is the oldest. Oh no. Okay. Um, Marlene, it might be easier. Oh, she's younger. Okay. Okay, so she's younger. And so there's 8 years between her and her eldest sibling. So her eldest sibling is an adult, even though she's considered an adult too, which is so scary. Sometimes, sometimes when the 18-year-old is, you know, so I'm going to go into the differentiation process. When a child is young, their parents are their whole world. And the parents can't do any wrong, right? Like whatever mom and dad say, or mom or just dad say, is gold. It's gold, right? But then as they go through different life cycle phases, they run into outside influences. They go to school, they make friends, they gain crushes on people, they have significant others, whatever the case may be. And then as they get older, they start to develop their own value system. And so then they start to judge the parent or parents based off of that value system. Hey, Kersha. Um, and so essentially, this is a time period in which, imagine you met Superman and he was just a man, right? And he was doing things that you didn't necessarily agree with, right? And so they start judging the parent based specifically on their value type. Now, mind you, the values that they have, it hasn't been bumped up against any actual experience. They haven't gone out into the world yet. They haven't lived, like they're judging the parent. Hey, Sylvia, they're judging the parent just based off of this bubble that they're living in and choices that they think that they would make differently, right? And so this becomes a very contentious point between the child and the parent, because the child doesn't understand the parent, because the child isn't going through the challenges that the parent is going through, but they're judging them as though they are. So essentially what happens is they start to separate from their family of origin. And they will distance themselves because they have to figure out, hey Sanjita, they have to figure out who they are outside of their family of origin, what their values look like versus what are values that were loaned to them, what they actually care about versus what they don't care about, what their experiences are going to be versus what they've experienced within the home. And a lot of times it's a very hard process because the difference in values will cause a rift between the parents within the family of origin and that child that is supposed to, eventually leave the house or whatever, and so this happens a lot. It happens a lot. We want to be able to talk our kids through the differentiation process, but a lot of times the differentiation process involves a break between the parent, the parental unit within the family of origin, and the person that is trying to break off and find themselves, right? You can liken it to leave and cleave, right? is that same concept. At some point, you have to separate and make your own family, but you have to discover who you are in the process, which a lot of times, unfortunately, means breaking from your original family of origin. Um, Marlene, I'm curious. How's mom taking it? Because it could be rough. How's mom taking it? Hey, Christina. Thank you so much for joining. In case you guys aren't aware, I am answering questions live. I am a licensed therapist in the state of Ohio. And so I am answering questions. You can write the questions in the comments, like Marlene, and or you can come online. Mom is wounded. Yeah, it's a hurtful process. It's a hurtful process. Um, but it also has to happen, because if it doesn't, the dynamics of the relationship never get a chance to shift. Your granddaughter is someone's daughter, but one day she might be someone's mom, and one day she might be someone's wife. Hopefully it happens in a reverse order, right? But nevertheless, she's going to be her own adult, and she's going to have her own family of that she creates. If differentiation never happens, then she never gets a chance to get out of that role of being just a daughter. That break has to happen, because then mom is able to see her as a woman instead of her baby girl that has always lived at home with her. And it hurts. It hurts. And tell mom I feel for her. I really, really do, because it hurts. But also tell mom that the fact that her daughter is going through the differentiation process means she did something right. Let her know that. As much as it might not feel like it right now, the fact that her daughter is successfully going through the differentiation process means that she did something right. Her daughter has what she feels, she has everything she needs to be able to go off on her own. She feels secure. She feels confident in her ability to make decisions and live on her own. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. And it's because mom did something right, not because she did something wrong. So let her know that. And I thank you so much for your question, Marlene. Margie, I see Margie is on, also Teresa. Christina is also on. Sylvia, haven't forgotten about you. Hi, Kersha. I am taking questions. Um, Questions about family, questions about life, questions about attachment, questions about whatever's on your mind, whatever's on your heart right now. I am a licensed therapist in the state of Ohio, and so I am here just to talk. Take advantage, utilize me. And again, Marlene, thank you so much for your question. Anna Marie, thank you so much for your question as well. I appreciate you both coming on here and talking. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. We will pray for them 150%. But also remind your daughter that the differentiation process means she did something right. Because sometimes during this process, a parent can feel like, well, what did I do? Or what didn't I do? Or what did I say? Or what didn't I say? Or maybe I pushed too hard. Maybe I didn't push enough. Maybe I didn't give them enough. Maybe I gave them too much. And they start to doubt themselves. Hey, Anthony, they start to doubt themselves. And so a part of the building process for the parent is realizing what differentiation is, and that if the person is going through that process, if they have the confidence to go out on their own, it's because you've instilled in them something that makes them think that they can make it. That's what you want, believe it or not. As painful as it is, that's actually what you want. Hey, shout out to Miss Ronice. Hello, hello, hello. Marlene C. Ronice, that's my mom. And in all transparency, we're very close now. We are very close now. But there was a time that I had to go through the differentiation process with my mom, and we spent a lot of time apart, and it was hurtful to me. I'm sure it was hurtful to her, but it allowed her to see me transform into a woman. And then it allowed me to be able to go through what's called the exoneration process, where when you go through something and then you start to realize what the other person might have been feeling and thinking, and that they're just human, just like you are, and all of those, that pedestal that you put them on, that you were so disappointed they fell from, you kind of move it to the side and you see them as a person. And the parent gets to see the daughter as a person as well, and not just a part of themselves. Mom, how would you say the differentiation process was for you? When I was kind of coming into my adulthood, around like, what, I was probably like 19 or 20. Oh, thank you, Mom. I love you. I love you so much. Whatever. But when I was 19 and 18, about between 18 and 20, I remember saying all the time, I'm grown. I'm grown. I'm grown. I'm grown. And it was so important to me that people see me as grown. I don't run around saying that anymore, because I walk in it. I talk in it. I've accomplished things in my life that I feel good about. I don't have to run around yelling at everybody that I'm grown. But when I was 18 through 20, hey, Adrian, that's exactly what I was doing. I'm going. You can't tell me I'm grown. I'm grown. And it's funny because that's typically when we need the most help. But Mom, I want to go back to you. What was that time period like for you? I know what it was like for me. My mom says it was hard but exciting to watch you grow and become the person you are now. It took some time, but one thing that I appreciate about my mom is that, you know, at some point she allowed me to be. She didn't always agree with what I was doing or how I was doing it, which is fine, right? Because that's just life. But she allowed me to go through my own process. My mom said, yeah, you did say that all the time. Like, we all know you're grown, Queen. Yes, but I was saying it all the time because I didn't feel grown. I didn't feel like people acknowledged me as grown. I wanted to walk in these big shoes, and I felt like no one was seeing me, right? I ain't did nothing yet. I ain't did nothing yet, you know. And it's interesting because the more that you do, the more people see, but you're doing it for you. You're building you. You feel good about you. So you don't have to run around boasting about being an adult when you actually are one. Um, but yeah, my mom said that it was hard. But again, I appreciate that she allowed me to go through my process. You know, there were times where it got really tense, especially in my early 20s, because, hey, Michelle, um, there were just things that I had to experience on my own, and my mom wanted to protect me from, experiences that, she kind of felt, her spidey senses were tingling, right? Because she had experience and she could see some things that I couldn't see, but I had to experience it on my own terms. I needed to experience it on my own terms. And at some point, she realized that and was like, okay. And she allowed me to do that. And when needed, she was there to pick up the pieces. And I think that's the most important part. So, Marlene, definitely tell your daughter, remain open. There's a lot of offense that can come from the differentiation process. I can't believe this person did this to me. They don't appreciate nothing I did and all this other type of stuff. And yes, it's okay to feel that way. There's offense, there's a little bit of resentment, you know. I actually have a podcast episode um that you can actually look on Spotify, Google, or Apple Podcasts, and it's about just this. Like, it's specifically about it's called Ungrateful Eye Kids. And it's literally about the differentiation process. And speaking as a parent that was feeling hurt by that process, because I'm human too. My mom said, we had our trials and tribulations, no doubt. Yeah, we did, but my mom, I love my mom so much, so much, but I had to go through things before I could appreciate the person she was. And that's the same process. So with that, a lot of times does come appreciation. So just also let your daughter know there is a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And it often looks like the exoneration process, which is when you see your parents as human and you actually identify with them on a level that you never could before. And you also appreciate that as a human, they did the best that they could. So, Marlene, I hope that was helpful. I'm purposely not saying people's last names. Just want to throw that out there. I think that's just a therapist in me to allow some type of anonymity. So I'm only saying people's first names. I'm so glad that you're on, Mama. I do. I love you very much. I also love my grandma too. You know, she played a big role in my life as well. Um, but yeah, show is almost coming to a close. So, anybody have any follow-up questions? I know that a couple of people joined in the meantime, in between time. I know Anthony joined, Margie joined, Teresa joined, Christina joined, Sylvia joined, Kersha. Sorry, I hope I'm not pronouncing that wrong. Queenie joined. So if you have any questions, get them in now. Get them in now. Put them in the queue so that I can answer them, because it's almost time for me to go. Take advantage. Again, I'm a licensed therapist in the state of Ohio, jumping on just to talk to people. Talk to people. Answer questions. Even if you just want to try it out, you might feel a little nervous. Thank you for oh yes, Anna Marie. Thank you. Thank you for coming on and asking your questions, because your questions help other people. You're not the only one that's going through what you're going through. None of you, whatever that something is, you're not the only one. Your questions help other people. That's why I do this. Michaela is on. Hey, Michaela, thank you so much for joining. Again, I'm taking final questions. Thank you, Marlene, too. I appreciate you sharing that with us today. And I think that it will be helpful to a lot of different people. And again, if you want to check out my podcast specifically on that, it's called, again, Ungrateful Kids, right? And you can find it on Google, uh, Spotify, and Apple under Supportive Advice Live. We have our podcast uploaded there as well. You can also go on Facebook and type it in on Supportive Advice, or even my personal page, and which is Aquila Wheatley, spelled the same as you see on here. And you'll be able to actually see my face as I'm talking about the differentiation process firsthand. Firsthand. Not fun. Not fun. My mom says, I really enjoyed the show. Thank you so much, Mom. I enjoy having you on here. You know, I love you. You're always welcome. And anybody else who has questions. Also, if you didn't feel comfortable asking your question, hey, Daryl, if you didn't feel comfortable asking your question live, right? Inbox me. You can inbox me on Supportive Advice. You can inbox me on my personal page, Aquila Wheatley. You can also send me an email at Aquila Wheatley, AqueelahWheatley at supportiveadvice.com. You can talk to me about different topics you want to hear about. You can talk to me about questions that you might have. You can talk to me about pretty much anything. So just inbox me, and then it might be our next topic. So definitely don't hesitate to do that. And make sure you check out some of the other podcasts. I'm sure you all, could get something out of those as well. All right. If you have questions, get them in the queue. Again, I'm a licensed therapist, just taking questions, family questions, individual questions. Anybody who ever just wanted to talk to a therapist for free. Definitely feel free. This is my give back. I do this for you all because everybody needs somebody to talk to. Why not me, right? Why not now? All right. So at this point, I am going to cut to commercial. When we come back, any final questions? And then we'll take it from there.
Let me be a part of your journey.
And we're back. And in case you didn't get a chance to write that down, the website is www.supportiveadvice.com. No spaces, supportiveadvice.com. And you can also reach me at 440-423-5955 to schedule appointments. And if you have anything in depth that you really want to talk about or that you want to work through, definitely feel free to schedule with me and we can go through the process of talking through some things. I do family therapy, couples therapy, individual therapy. The only group that I don't typically see at this point, children. But Ohio Guidestone has a great early childhood program, And so definitely look into to programs for children because they need love too. And they have issues too that need to be talked about and deserve to be heard. That number again for you guys to schedule with me is 440-423-5955. More conveniently, you can go right onto my website. It gives you access to my calendar. And that website for you is supportiveadvice.com. Supportive advice, all one word.com. And if you have any questions, concerns, if you have any ideas that come to you in the middle of the week for a topic that you want to hear about, hey Esther, a topic that you want to hear about that maybe you didn't think about, or a question that you had. Hey McLeod, maybe your name is Richard. Hey Jamila, um, just questions, things that you didn't come to mind when you were sitting here. Inbox me. It could be our next topic. I can answer it on the next show. Definitely inbox me. Thank you guys so much for your time and making this a worthwhile investment. I appreciate you all so much. I really, really do. Please join us again. We are here on Thursdays, typically around 6-ish. If you get on at 6 and you don't see me, hey Ether, Esther, I'm sorry. Blessings to you too. Um, if you get on and you don't see me, just wait a minute. Just wait a minute. Okay. We will be here on Thursday around 6-ish, right? Um, Esther, so glad that you joined us. We're actually at the end of our show. But I really hope that you come back next week. And if you have any questions or concerns, or anything any topics you want to talk about, definitely inbox me on my supportive advice page. You can also inbox me on my personal page, Aquila Wheatley, and you can send me emails to aquilawheatley@supportiveadvice.com. If you're interested in actually scheduling an appointment with me, I talk to families, couples, and individuals. Feel free to go to my website at supportiveadvice.com. Thank you, everybody, for joining. And we're going to close with a commercial. Have a great day.